11 my time. Okay, we're live. I'm joined here by Tim from Mylar Madness. He's going to do some comic memories. So how have you been, mate?
Okay.
Hey?
I've been pretty good, considering, of course, yes, lots of craziness going on. Of course, COVID-19 and all the good stuff, but it's been lucky for us. We haven't been affected by it. None of my family has gotten it. I haven't gotten it. My parents haven't gotten it, but it's been crazy. It's been crazy.
Right,
the businesses have been flourishing. Everybody's doing great in business-wise.
Wow.
None of the small businesses have been closed down. How about you, Graham?
Yeah, lockdown all the time here. Nothing but lockdowns. I literally got to see my girlfriend. I got to see my girlfriend at Christmas, and that was it. Then we went back into lockdown again. And even then, I just managed to get in there in the right window because they decided they was going to stop the lockdown for Christmas so everyone could see their families and stuff. And then about 2 days before Christmas, they changed their mind again. But luckily, in the period before they changed their minds, I'd already gone to see my girlfriend, so I just stayed there for Christmas and New Year, basically.
Oh, very good. At least you got to see her, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. That's the main thing. So we could talk about some your comic memories today then. Just going to go through some of your comic books, some of your memories. Do you remember, how long have you been collecting for? I mean, you work in a comic shop as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been working in a comic store for about 5 years now. I'm frozen here. But I've been collecting for over 40 years. So
yeah.
I've been collecting a long time. My memories go all the way back to the 70s.
How good is your memory?
Not too good. The older I get, of course, the more my memory slips.
Yeah,
but I've been trying my best.
Yeah,
been trying my best.
I remember some of your early videos. I remember seeing when I first sort of saw you from the vault or something like that. Would you call it the vault? Is that where you store your comic books?
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting at right now. All these white boxes behind me. I don't have any space anymore. I'm running out of room. I need to start selling.
All right.
But yeah,
is that the plan? Yeah. Is that the plan, or just there's something? Oh, right, okay. Something
I'm gonna be buried in here. They're just gonna throw my comic book boxes on top of me, and this is gonna be my catacomb. This is gonna be my tomb.
Yeah, like the pharaohs, like a pyramid made out of comic boxes. That's not a bad way to go. Yeah.
I'm gonna have my heart and my brain CGC'd.
Yes, good idea. That's actually quite appropriate. Yeah, like the canopic jars that I used to keep the
right there. You go. Exactly.
Egypt. Yeah, that's cool. Maybe a Moon Knight comic, like in your hands as well, just to show the Egyptian.
Absolutely.
Theme,
right, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got my Werewolf by Night 32 ready to go.
That's cool. Yeah, I've got that one. Unfortunately, I'm quite happy about that. But yeah, so we start off with showing off your first comic book then. Let's have a look at your first comic book that you want to talk about today. Your first, it hasn't got to be like your first one you ever got, but just any memories that are like big in your mind to do with comic books, and we can talk about it. Maybe one I don't know, maybe one I do know.
Sure. Can you still see me? Because I'm frozen here. I can't see.
Yeah, you're fine, mate. I'll put you on big screen so that we can see you better. You're actually a little bit too far to one side. If you want to move your camera a little bit so you're more in it.
How about that?
That's better. Yeah, that's cool.
All right, right on. I'm sorry I'm so close, but I'm trying to
that's fine, mate.
Stay close to my router and at the same time show off my books. But the earliest days of collecting when I was a kid, I remember inheriting a small stack of comic books from my brother back in the early 70s. My brother was 4 years older than me. And I remember the first stack that I got, it had this really odd little swamp creature that used to roam the earth, and he couldn't talk to anyone, so it was very frustrating for him. And of course, with myself, and I have a little bit of a learning disability as well. I'm dyslexic. It always related to me. So of course, one of the earliest memories that I have would be of Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
You can see that. I can't. Can you see it?
We can see it. Yeah, see the top of it. 9.6. Good, nice.
Yeah, we got a 9.6 of a number 6 of the first Bernie Wrightson run. This was a beautiful book, and I remember this one specifically because it was the first time I saw the Swamp Thing go against like mechanisms, robots and things of that nature. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool concept. And he took a lot of damage in this issue too because of the little spinning blades of the hands, and it was just like one of those really cool things to see. And ever since then, Bernie Wrightson was one of my favorite all-time artists. And of course, Len Wein, he's a fantastic writer as well.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite ones.
So robots versus muck monsters.
Yeah. Oh God, I love muck monsters. I love Man Thing. I love Swamp Thing. I love the Heap from First. I've got a couple of those Airboy issues where he's got the Heap as a crossover. But of course, that's an old. I think that's even a Golden Age character.
I think it is. That's the original Heap. I got the one shot like Skyways or Sky, like Atlas Seaboard. Is it coming there or Skyward? I think it's Skyward. Like a one shot of the or just called the Heap. That was like a later, like in between the new one. Yeah. Someone was telling me the other day, I was watching someone's video the other day, apparently he's been using Image. The Heap is being used in Image now, so I was told, in Spawn stories. That's what I was informed anyway.
Yeah, he's been making little cameo appearances. Yeah.
Okay, because someone showed a model, they showed a figure. I think it was Manny in Philippines. He showed a figure, like a McFarlane Toys kind of model of this Heap. But it looked more like a scrap heap rather than a muck monster heap to me, because you had little bits of metal sticking out and stuff like that.
Yeah, not exactly the same character, but I think they are trying to follow in that same footsteps and trying to revitalize not only his look, but the whole idea and concept of the Heap. So cool. That's really cool.
I'm taking that's not the original comic that you got in that small stack from your brother. That's just that's another copy of. It's not the actual original one.
That's another copy. Yes, that's
So no way you kept that at 9.6 from being a child in the 70s.
No way. No, not at all. As a matter of fact, the original stack of comics are actually in my closet here. I actually still have those. Some of them don't have covers. Some of them have me drawing on the comic book or tracing some of the characters. But I never tossed them. I never threw them in the rubbish, and I always kept them. And I have them in the closet packed away, and I have those in like Ziploc bags because really and truly they're falling apart. They're falling, they're in pieces.
Yeah, we've read many times. But a lot of people find that those early ones that they got are always going to be the ones that they remember forevermore. Always have a fondness for the very first stories that you got. So do you remember the actual first comic you read? I know that was in the first batch that you got, but do you remember what the actual first one you read was? Was you aware of comic books before your brother gave you that set, or?
The first comics that I remember reading, of course, were in the newspaper. I used to read Blondie. I used to read Hagar the Horrible. Those were the first actual exposure that I got to comics. But then when it actually came to the floppies, probably some early Avengers stories from probably the late 50s or 60s. I'm talking numerically in the 50s and the 60s, like the early appearances of the Grim Reaper. I remember some. Yeah. I probably remember reading like the original, like when they introduced the Vision with that beautiful cover where it shows him standing there and it's like introducing the Vision. I remember reading those because my brother used to get those.
Behold the Vision, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Behold the Vision. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I've seen it on so many people's videos and stuff. It's one of those ones I look at and go, oh, that's a nice one. I wouldn't mind that one day.
Yeah, one day I wouldn't mind. One day. Yeah. And then, of course, after I started watching more television and getting into certain types of shows, I was very fascinated to find out that they had comic books based on those same shows.
Yeah.
From $6 Million Man to Wild Wild West to the Twilight Zone and Star Trek, of course. All the gold keys. I used to have a big stack of gold keys as well. That I used to just keep on my my bedside, and whenever I was bored I would pick up a comic and reread it. Some of those books I read probably 30, 40, 50 times.
You're quite lucky because those TV shows that you were talking about, those were like come out from companies like Gold Key and stuff like. We never saw those ones in the UK. I only ever saw Marvel and DC. So the only TV show tie-in that we had would be the Batman from the old '60s show and Wonder Woman. I suppose when Wonder Woman came in the '70s, but that was must-see TV for us as kids. Both those shows.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you this: I was probably 8 or 9 years old when I was introduced to someone that's on your side of the Atlantic, Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
And I would stay up late at night, and our PBS station used to buy episodes of Doctor Who, and they would come on. They would come on at 11 o'clock at night, and my grandmother, who basically raised me, allowed me to stay up at night to see that one episode of Doctor Who, and the next day I'd be talking about it to all my friends at school.
That's good. Who was your doctor? Who was your doctor that you saw first and loved the most, kind of thing?
The first one I got exposed to, believe it or not, was Peter Davidson.
Okay, so
that's when I first started. Yeah, but it was like Twin Dilemma. I believe the Twin Dilemma was the first one that I even saw.
Right,
and then like 2 weeks later, there was a different guy. There was Tom Baker, and I was like,
"Oh, where did watched them out of order?"
They were out of order. Yes. Yeah. So I was like, "What's going on here?" I was totally, and of course there was no internet back then, so I had no idea what the hell was going on. Yeah. So I had to do my own research, find some friends who were in the Doctor Who, and they explained it to me. No. There have been different actors who played Doctor Who, and you're watching them out of order. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, our PBS station would buy them in blocks, and they would play like maybe one serial, they would play Twin Dilemma. Was it Twin Dilemma? No, not Twin Dilemma. What was it called? But Peter Davison. It was the one that was filmed just after Castrovalva.
I don't know. I was a big Doctor Who fan for Tom Baker, but I couldn't.
There you go.
We never had you never watched them again, and never got replays or nothing like that. Well, literally, if you didn't see them on the day, you never see them again. Like I remember the one time I missed a Doctor Who episode of Tom Baker. I went ice skating and fell over and got my finger run over by an ice skate.
Oh dear God!
I was having it stitched up, and I missed the fourth part of the one with the plant monsters in it, and I've never seen it still to this day. But I used to enjoy it back in the day. So it's long before you get box sets or bloody DVDs or catch-up TV, and like you're saying, like that, you kind of. Just when you said there about how you got the internet back in them days, you've had the internet for so long now, and it's so easy. You can do anything on the touch of your finger, look up this, look up that. And I just remember them days when literally you had no idea what was going on unless you picked up a specialist magazine or a TV time or something like that. Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it was confusing at first, but it was fascinating. I used to love the whole aspect of it. I love the personalities of the Doctor. Yeah. And then after Peter Davidson, then I went to John Pertwee.
Oh wow! You really saw it in reverse.
Yeah, that really opened up a whole new door. He was my first big, I guess, schoolboy kind of crush deal when it came to action heroes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Him and Han Solo. It was John Pertwee and Han Solo for me. Those were my idols.
Yeah,
and the cool thing was, I got to meet Sean Pertwee. I got to meet his son at a convention here in Tampa, and I told him how much I admired his dad and how
it's sort of come full circle because he's done he's been Alfred now, hasn't he, in the Gotham TV show?
Yes,
so he's done comic book stuff as well. Did you ever actually get any of the Doctor Who comics? Because they was on Marvel UK, so I used to click the Marvel UK was Doctor Who Weekly to start off with. It became
Doctor Who Weekly.
Yeah,
plenty of them. Stacks.
I lost them all in a move. So, right, I've got a question from the chat.
What's the question?
Do you remember Bigfoot and Wild Boy? I've never heard of that.
Absolutely, God, yes, Bigfoot and Wild Boy from the Croft Superpower Hour, I believe it was called. Right. Oh God, yes, Bigfoot and Wild Boy, along with Electro Woman and Dinah Girl, and the Wonder Bug, all the Sid Marty Krofft shows. Absolutely, that only lasted I want to say 8 to 12 episodes. Bigfoot and Wild Boy. It was very cool.
Okay.
Very cool show.
That's one of those things. A lot of the American cartoons and TV shows, all I ever know them from is from the middle pages of a comic book. Where they'll say, "Come in Saturday morning," and there'd be like hours of cartoons, and we'd have like one cartoon or something on one of our free TV channels that we had when I was a kid. Like, you'd be lucky to see any of them, like stuff like Super Friends that all the American people I took to will love. Oh, Super Friends was the best thing back in the day. Never seen a single episode, so it's like,
Yeah, we used to look forward to those new ads to see what was coming out for the new, spring season of cartoons or for the fall season of cartoons. Those were the two big seasons, and we were always waiting to see what new cartoons they were going to come up with. Yeah. I mean, Shazam and ISIS. I don't know if you guys ever got those, but the live action Shazam TV show. Oh gosh.
We got the dodgy Fantastic Four one. We had the robot instead of the Human Torch. I remember seeing that one. Oh, also the Spider-Man serial, Spider-Man, that one.
Whatever a spider can. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I grew up on those too.
Yeah, those are awesome. But we've gone off the subject a bit. We're talking about Swamp Thing, which was your first comic book. Did you follow that series? Did you collect that like through the Alan Moore run or anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I really started to collect comic books probably when I was about 12 years old. That's when I was first introduced to like Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider. I went to a flea market. I'll remember this. I went to a flea market and my dad bought me a complete run of Ghost Rider comic books that was available at the time. And it was like 40 issues. And he goes, now you got to, keep up with this. So go to the newsstand and pick up your copies of Ghost Rider so you can have a whole set. And I remember going to the newsstand and I saw Ghost Rider and it was like maybe, 30 or 40 issues away. And I was like, oh, now I got to go back and get all the ones that I missed. And of course, back then, all we had were garage sales and flea markets. And luckily enough, I found a small little comic book store in the flea market, and he had $4 comics. And I would go in there and I would buy 4 comic books for $1, and I would start exploring everything. Oh, look, Ghost Rider. Oh, okay, so Ghost Rider. Oh, look, Daredevil. Daredevil was in Ghost Rider. Let me check out Daredevil. Oh, wait a minute. Moon Knight. Let me see Moon Knight. Moon Knight's in it. Oh, and it just opened up a whole floodgate, and I just started collecting. It's
a slippery slope, isn't it? It's a slippery slope. You get one comic book, at least another comic book. I was always a completionist. It sounds like you were a completionist from quite early on. But it was always like I wanted to have the stories, but I never had the money to go and buy that many. But I'd pick them up every now and again when I could. But when I actually found a comic shop near me and actually had the money of my own to pay for them, I've got so many every month. But did you have trouble? Because have you always been in Florida, or was you living somewhere else then?
Oh, no, I've lived all around the world, believe it or not. I was in the military for a few years. I lived in Woods Hole, Massachusetts. I lived in El Paso, Texas. I've been to a lot of different places. I used to live just outside of Chicago. I even traveled and lived over there for a couple of months. I was in Edinburgh. I was in Edinburgh for almost 2 months. Yeah.
Oh, so you just a wanderer, or you was always being chased out of town? What's the score there?
Yeah, a little of both. To be honest with you, sometimes when the heat's on, you just gotta disappear for a few days. No, I'm a performer. I'm an actor. That's what I do for a living. Yeah, and sometimes performances will take me to exciting new places, and I got to go with them and travel with them. So that was always the fun thing. Yeah.
Okay. I got a bit sidetracked there. So when you was a kid and you first started buying comics, was it easy for you to buy comics? Was there lots of LCSs around? Was there lots of flea markets around? Because someone I spoke to was a bit more rural and had to cycle for like 3 miles to get to their comic shop kind of thing. How was it for you?
We were quite lucky. As a matter of fact, one of the first comic shops I remember buying from was one called the Fandom Zone, spelled Fandom.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the gentleman's name was Tom Bowles. And he basically, that's where I bought my first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books. It used to be behind this curtain shop. We had to walk through the curtain shop to get to the comic book shop. And curtains are things, you decorate your curtains. And people would have custom window dressings. And things of that nature. So we had to walk through the curtain shop to get to the comic book store. And my friends,
You didn't put a curtain on, pretend it was a cape or anything like
that. not to my recollection, but I'm not going to admit to that if I did.
I would.
Yeah,
totally
I did. Of course I did. Of course I did. But I remember going to the Phantom Zone. It was right down the street from us. Sometimes we could walk. Sometimes I would get a ride with my buddy, who really got me into collecting comic books. My friend Richard Garcia. He was my childhood friend I've known him since kindergarten. So that means I've known him since I was 5 years old.
Right.
And we were in school all the way up to our senior year together. And he was a DC guy. I was a Marvel guy. I think I did that on purpose. But he would introduce me to weird characters as well. He's the one that got me interested in characters like Dr. Fate. Yeah, so I used to get into the JSA.
Did you comic swap, or like you say, I've read these, let me read yours, and then give them back kind of thing? And I used to have a mate where you did that for a while.
Absolutely. He would always bring comics over, and he'd leave them in my house, or I'd go to a comic book store and grab some books and leave. He would borrow them. So yeah, we were always switching comic books all the time. He's just starting to get out of the hobby a little bit. He's just not happy with it anymore. He doesn't like the new direction that comics are taking. So he's slowed down a lot. He's not getting as many as I still get. And I think it's just because of the completist in me. I still want to continue getting books.
Yeah. If I had the money, I probably would have continued myself, but it was just like, nah, I got to knock it on the head. Anyway, so we move on. I'm going to put you big screen. Let's just show you your next comic book. Otherwise, it'll be all night.
Yeah,
we don't want to be all night.
But that's. I mean, the comic book shops were pretty accessible when I was a kid. And they still are here in the Tampa Bay area. There are probably at least 10 comic book shops within an hour radius from my house.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to talk about your shop that you work at as well as in a little while.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Right, let's have a look at your second book then, and we'll talk about that one there.
Sure. Another one that I really enjoyed when I was a kid. And I'm sorry these are graded. Graham, these were just the only ones that I can get to in time. But I this is one of my other early DC books that I loved.
Okay,
Jonah Hex.
Right.
Yeah, Western books. Once again, creepy, disfigured guy who had a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. Show it again a little bit higher, because we only saw the top of the book. We didn't see the actual cover very well. Oh yeah, okay. Someone's dead.
That's Jonah Hex being dragged by the local sheriff.
I see it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's when he got his own series. That's the #1. But he was an all-star Western. I believe he started in issue number 10 or 9 or 10. And then he ran for like 40 issues in that. Then he got his own series. That's
one that Jonah Hex is what character I've never really read. I've only ever seen him like in guest stars and like appearances. Was he like a Confederate? I think I saw the film as well. It's probably my know more from was he like Confederate or something? Originally a Confederate soldier?
Well, he was dressed as a Confederate soldier. There were never any really evidence that he actually served as a Confederate soldier. He would have memories and flashbacks, but really and truly what I think it is that he was a soldier on one side or the other who had probably a little bit of shell shock. He got caught on probably a cannonball. That's the reason why he's got a disfigured face. But they've had so many different excuses for his disfigured face. They keep rewriting his origin. But I like to create my own little backstories sometimes, because you kind of glean that from reading the book. And some of the things that happened to him were a little bit bizarre and a little bit little witchcraft or a little darkness. And I think some of that might be even just him, recovering from his shell shock from being, blown up in the head or, shot at way too much. Yeah. But it was a very, very cool book for its time. Once again, I like the loners. I like the characters that are just lone guys who just kind of go out there and just try to face the world head on.
He was like a mysterious loner, by the sound. He kicked ass, basically. Because one thing I do know about the character, one time he went to the future or something, or got abducted by aliens or something, didn't he? Something weird like that. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, it was a book just called Hex. Right. And he actually, that's how that book ended. That one ended, and he went into the far future. And he was a little bit cyborgish. He had some cyborg components. And it was.
Talk about reinventing the character.
Yeah, absolutely. They brought him into. They didn't just put him in the regular DC universe. They threw him into the future of the DC universe. So they had a lot of space to play, and they didn't have to worry about him bumping into Superman or bumping into, even though he kind of did sometimes. But that was one of the cooler things. It wasn't wrapped up in the continuity of, the major DC universe. He kind of stepped in and stepped out whenever they felt like they needed him. And that's one thing I appreciated, not only about Swamp Thing, but Jonah Hex as well.
Yeah, both actually. Yeah, good point. They're both kind of on the fringes of the DC universe, aren't they? The Swamp Thing didn't cross over every now and again, but it wouldn't like sort of team up. Apart from, is he part of that new Dark JLA Dark? Because he's Swamp Thing.
They had a crossover. They had a little like 4-issue crossover where Jonah Hex was involved in it. But now I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure if you know about the whole future state of DC, where right now they've put all their books on hold for the last 2 months. Well, for January and February, that is.
Yeah, and, I've heard about that. Yeah, they're going back to normal though after that, aren't they? Just going back to normal books, I'm assuming.
Kinda. I saw the solicits for March and April. There's only a few books that are returning. Graham, there's Batman, there's Detective, there's Superman, Batman. Everything's Batman related. There's even a new Joker series coming.
Okay.
An ongoing Joker series.
It's interesting. Yeah, I've not keeping up with the modern books, but it's kind of worrying because you keep hearing about like people, the DC reshuffling and new people taking over DC and people being laid off and all that kind of stuff. It is quite worrying. I don't think anyone wants to see any of the blinking comic companies disappearing or going digital or anything like that. That would be a horror show.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I do not want to see happen. As a matter of fact, I got really nervous. I'm not sure, I don't want to get political, but I'm not sure you heard about that explosion that they had here in Nashville, Tennessee, in the States, where it was aimed against AT&T. I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me it's a DC person who got laid off. Because they're the boss company of DC, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody just mentioned I was just going to ask you about the Jonah Hex movie, and also forgetting about it, the Swamp Thing movies. Have you watched the movies for both those characters, the Jonah Hex and the Swamp Thing?
Absolutely. Not only do I own the DVDs of both the Swamp Thing movies and the Return of Swamp Thing, but also the TV shows. There used to be a TV show, 3 seasons of it for Swamp Thing, plus the newest one that just came out.
I saw the new one. It was quite good.
I'm about to brag. Yeah. If you saw the first episode of the new series, one of my acting students is in that episode. He's one of the guys that are at the town hall where he jumps up and he goes, "They're destroying our swamp." That's one of my students. Yeah, well, it's so cool to watch your kids grow up and get their own jobs. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a shame that the series, it was something to do with like cost, wasn't it? They were promised like cost cutting by working in a certain place, and then they took away the tax incentive or whatever it was, and so it became untenable or whatever the phrase is. Oh, another thing was mentioned. Ginny Hex. Have you seen that Ginny Hex? She's got I don't know, a granddaughter or something now in a comic book. Yeah,
she's part of Young Justice. Yeah, absolutely. She just had her own one-shot special that just came out. Yeah, that's another really cool character that has spun off. But she's really established in the current DC continuity, at least the one that was pre-Future State. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with her afterwards.
No, interesting. But I'm sure there was another, like, I remember like an old like JLA or something like that, and like there was an ancestor of Jonah Hex. And I wonder if that was there one there in as well? Or am I imagining
I believe there was. I believe you're absolutely right about that.
I don't think it's the same character though.
Yeah, I can't really put my finger on which series it was. DC's gone through so many different facelifts, I can't really keep up anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And I suppose because of that was probably before the New 52. So now you got the New Rebirth. It could be a completely different character, and that character may never have existed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's all good fun, but don't try and keep track. don't try and keep track of storylines or blinking history of characters, because they change so often that half the time the people actually writing them don't know the blinking origins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Do you want to show your third book now?
Sure. All right. So this isn't the issue that I wanted to show you, but it was the Marvel issue. This is where my collection habits took a sharp left-hand turn. I got involved in Godzilla. Now, this isn't the Marvel. This isn't the Marvel series that I was actually first in. I couldn't find them because of all of this. But this was the second. This was the Dark Horse series of Godzilla. But this character in particular is where my reading habits started to change a little bit, and I got into big monsters. I loved all the big monsters. I started even going back and collecting some of the old Gorgo comic books from Gold Key and Dell. But I loved that one, and Gamera. That was another one that was kind of cool. But all the the big kaiju monsters, as they're called now.
Hold on up again a second. That last one, is he a giant turtle or something like that? I can't remember.
Yeah, that is a giant turtle. Yes. Sorry, I can't see what I'm showing you. It's so frozen.
it's fine. It's fine, and we can see that one fine now. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful artwork.
That's a weird one. Now I remember, like in the horror films, or kind of not exactly horror films, but the Godzillas. Remember seeing it, but never thought there would be comic books. But I remember there being the Marvel Godzilla. I never read that. Same with that, and the giant robot books like Shogun were all kind of ones that I kind of avoided. It wasn't right. I was like, they're a bit silly. I used to think, I never really sort of got into it. I was more into people with capes and spandex.
Sure. I mean, Godzilla, the Marvel run, got really cool because not only did they introduce Red Ronin, which is a giant mechanoid robot that's kind of like Ultraman, but they shrunk Godzilla down to the size of a mouse. The Fantastic Four went after him. Shield and Nick Fury went after him. It was so cool to see Godzilla fight the Thing from the Fantastic Four.
In his normal height or in the size of a mouse height?
No, the size of like a regular human height, because when they shrunk him down, they only had so long to capture him because he was starting to grow again. Right. So the ray they used to shrink him down was short-lived.
Right.
So
because he's had loads of like reboots in the cinema as well, hasn't he? Got another one coming up soon. I was watching someone's channel. I think it was Carolina Chris 26. Someone was on there with him, and he was showing off a couple of stills, Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that one's coming up again. And Marvel just picked up the license for Ultraman. I don't know if you've gotten any of those in the UK, but Ultraman was another Japanese. He's a legend in Japan. He's been around since the late 60s.
I've heard the name. Rough idea. I know what he looks like. Yeah.
Silver robot with a little bit of a blue and red on his chest with a blinking light. When he fights too hard, the light starts to blink and he has to change back to his human form. Otherwise, he dies. Yeah. So it's really cool.
What about Power Rangers? That's kind of Japanese. Is that kind of thing you're into as well? It's giant monsters.
Believe it or not, when Power Rangers hit the States, I was already out of high school. I was in college. So I didn't start watching Power Rangers until I had children of my own. And my boys grew up watching Power Rangers. And, of course, I was sitting right there next to them because I'm a big nerd, too. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch Power Rangers. And, of course,
I got a question. I got a question from chat. Do you have Godzilla versus Barkley? Is that
I do have Godzilla versus Barkley. I'm not sure if I have it with me, but I do have that comic book.
What is Barkley when it's home?
Charles Barkley. It's a basketball player. And,
okay.
It was a one-shot by Dark Horse, and basically Godzilla was on a rampage, and they got Charles Barkley, and they increased his size so he can have a one-on-one with Godzilla.
Oh man, it's crazy.
That's an actual comic book, Graham. And of course, what Charles Barkley played for the who did he play for before he retired? It wasn't the Lakers, was it? It wasn't the Lakers.
I know the name, but I have no idea who he played for. Don't ask me.
He's an American basketball player. Yeah.
I heard the name. Definitely heard the name, but yeah. Oh yeah, your sons. You're watching Power Rangers. Have you got them into comic books as well? Are they following you in the comic book reading?
They did. They do read comic books. One started to go into video games, so now he's enthralled with video games, and he's 30 years old, Graham. So he's not a little baby anymore, and he still plays video games.
Yeah,
and the other one. Yeah, there you go. I actually just finished watching you. I think you were streaming just a little while ago. I was checking in on you to see where you were at. And I saw you playing Fallout.
About 6 hours or something like that.
Yeah, I gave you a thumbs up. I was like, let him continue playing. Give him a thumbs up, and I'll see him a little bit later. But
that was my prep for this, mate. I was clearing my mind to think of questions by shooting things in the Commonwealth.
Oh, right on. But my son Daniel, who is now serving in the United States Army, he's actually in Germany, where he serves. He's in Stuttgart, Germany, where he serves our country out there, and he's a communication specialist. Cool. And he likes to travel the globe, and whenever he finds European comic books or anything that's really cool, he'll grab something and send a little care package to me. And,
nice.
Nice. He's a good kid. Yeah, so.
That's cool. Well, does he take any comics with him, or does he read on the tablet or anything while he's out there, or does he not really read it now?
Yep, he reads digital comics. He does, because he's always on the go. Every once in a while, he'll pick up a new trade paperback somewhere, and he'll catch up with something. He was a big Green Lantern fan. He loved Green Lantern. Yeah. It's funny how I started off as a Marvel guy, but all my books turn out to be DC. It's really funny how that works out.
Well, just DC's better, and you end up buying DC. That's my theory. One of the guys in chat, Manny from the Philippines, when I talked to him about his comic memories, he went on he was an engineer on a ship for a while, and this is before digital comics, and he could only take like a handful of comics with him. So if you was doing something similar, this is a question out of the blue. If you was doing something similar, you could go away and you can only take one comic book or one trade with you. What would it be?
Oh dear. Oh boy, that's a crazy one. Now, see, here's the thing: would I want to take something that I already read and just reread it over and over again, or would it be something completely new and just jump into a whole new world while I myself is trying to experience a whole new world and see if I can't have some sort of relationship with that? So yeah, that would be an interesting thing.
Compendium ones, one of them huge fat compendiums. I'll let you think about that one for a bit, then see if you can think of an answer to that one. All right. I've always liked Keith Giffen's Legion of Superheroes, or I would like Dicto's work on Doctor Strange. Hell, Graham, I wouldn't mind if I was having to work on a boat where I was underway all the time. I would read something as silly as Bugs Bunny to keep my mind from going crazy. Anything you can get hold of, basically.
Anything I can get a hold of.
Right, let's move on to comic book number 4 anyway. You got anything else to say about Godzilla? You got anything you want to add about Godzilla?
Just that he's big and he's green.
Yeah. Is it atomic breath that he has? Atomic breath, or is it fire breath? I can never work it out.
No, it's atomic. Yeah, he's got atomic breath. He's got his atomic breath. He's also got his ability to do drop kicks. It depends on what era Godzilla that you're looking at. Same thing with Gamera. Gamera's got atomic breath too, but ever since he's becoming the representative for Earth, like he's trying to save the Earth and he's a very he's an eco-centric, very, very eco-friendly kind of character. He's got this thing in his heart where he can open up his shell and he could use the blast only once. It actually kills him. But it also allows him to it does kill him, but he also at the same time will be hatched somewhere else. His spirit will go into the next guardian of the earth.
I was going to say
that was in the latest Gamera film. But
I was thinking, if you can use it once and it kills him, how on earth did he discover it? But if he gets reborn somewhere else, I suppose it makes sense. Have you got a favorite Godzilla family of monsters? Like the kind of those like Mothra and ones like that. Have you got a favorite monster other than Godzilla?
There was a everybody's going to hate me for this. But there was one character that I really liked that was only in one film. That was because it was created by like a little 12-year-old boy, and his name was Jet Jaguar. And Jet Jaguar was a little robot, and the robot himself was able to shrink and grow a lot like Ultraman. And I think they were probably borrowing heavily from Ultraman. But he only appeared in one episode of Godzilla, and that was Godzilla versus Megalon. And it's a very cool a tag team fight because it had Megalon, it had Jet Jaguar, it had Godzilla, and then Megalon had his tag team component, which was Gigan or Gigan, depending on how you pronounce it. And it was just really, really cool to see like a tag team match of these guys wrestling in rubber suits. It was hilarious.
Okay,
it brings a smile to my face.
Right, you're a little bit lagged there. Yeah, you're still there, but you sort of froze for a second, but you think you're back again. We still had your voice, but your face was frozen. Well, let's move on to your next comic book. If you can still hear me and see me. I thought you froze for a second. Yeah, okay.
Sure.
I reckon it's the I can see you've got in that room. That's what's blocking the Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
signal.
probably. And the metal cell. Too much. Trust me. Sometimes I look at your collection when you have it in you had an episode where you were talking about moving it out of your closet, and you were trying to get to your books in your closet, and I was like, man, I wish I had a closet because I've got way too many books, Graham. I need to get rid of some of these damn things. I really do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just got 5 long boxes in, and I've nearly filled them up again. It's like, oh man.
And then, of course, we've got a $6 million man. Once again, this is just one of the graded books that I've recently acquired, but I remember I have the whole series of this. There's not a lot of issues of the $6 million man. It didn't even get into the early teens before it got canceled, but a lot of Charleston books didn't last very long. They were based on either a television show. This has got beautiful Joe Staton artwork. I'm not sure if you're a fan or even do you know who Joe Staton is? I'm sure you do.
I've heard the name, yeah, but I'm not great at remembering artists, but I definitely heard the name.
Yep, he used to work on Green Lantern back when Hal Jordan was like exploring the universe before the Omega Men. Him and Pollard, is it Mark or Mike Pollard, who also used to draw the book as well. But Joe Staton also did a lot of. Joe Staton's known for creating Power Girl.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with Power Girl? Mm-hmm.
Oh yes. So. That's cool. Yeah, I remember that was another great one of the show. That show did make it to the UK, and that was the show that was responsible for school kids running around really slow and thinking that they're going really fast.
Absolutely.
You have to do the jump as well.
Yes, I used to creep the girls out by using my bionic eye going.
We actually got the toys as well. We actually got the toys for $6 Million Man over in the UK as well. I remember we definitely had I think my brother had one. I had one. I remember it was you could see through. You could look through the eye in the back of his head, couldn't you? You could look through the back of his head.
Absolutely.
And he said he had an engine block that he'd lift up like that, and plastic skin you could pull back and see his bionics underneath the skin, kind of thing. I remember that.
Absolutely, yes. As a matter of fact.
Wasn't there a cyborg enemy as well that they invented for the toy series?
Oh yes, Maskatron.
Oh, I couldn't
cyborg
remember.
energy. Hold on. Here we go.
Oh, awesome.
Of course, the skin has fallen off, but he still has his bionics on his arm. I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, she looked into the back. And I could see, Graham, you're so far away, Graham.
Yeah.
So he can use his arm to lift up the motor block. But yeah, that's Colonel Steve Austin there. And of course, you've got Maskatron. That was his name right here.
Oh,
and
right.
You got into a fight.
Yeah. His face came off. I forgot completely forgot what his name was, but I remember having like the toys that were big, like as kids. Stretch Armstrong was another one that came over. Yep. It was very popular, and obviously Evel Knievel. Any comic book today with Evel Knievel ad on the back is bound to be a good comic book, simply because it's got Evel Knievel on the back of it.
Now, do you remember this character? I'm not sure if this made it across the way, but they were trying to cash in on the whole $6 million man. So Mattel created Pulsar with 3D body effects, so you can actually see the lungs breathe.
He looks like a WCW wrestler.
He does. He looks like Gorgeous George. Yeah.
So you're a collector of toys then, as well as comic books?
Oh yes. Unfortunately, I collect toys, comics, autographs.
Yeah.
Just little knickknacks. I don't know how to throw things away, Graham. I have a sickness. It's
yeah. The only thing I collect is comic books, dust, and grey hairs. I'm getting a good collection of grey hairs that are just coming up out of nowhere.
Oh, I'm there with you. I'm there. I'm turning 52 this year. So. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Same here. Later on in the year, we won't compare months. Oh man, right. We've done Godzilla now to death. I think. $6 million man. That's right. What about the Bionic Woman? Because did her comic book run for longer than the Bionic Man's, or no?
Actually, she only ran for. I want to say she only ran for 7 issues. She didn't go very long at all. Yeah, and of course, the Dynamite comic book company, they ended up buying the licenses for both Bionic Man and Bionic Woman, but they were the Bionic Man wasn't. I don't think he was Colonel Steve Austin. I think they still called him Steve, but I don't think they called him Austin. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't remember. It's been too long. But Alex Ross did some beautiful covers for those.
Okay. I hope that horrible wrestler never took the copyright or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Probably did.
And they called it the Bionic Man. They didn't call it the $6 million man. It was just the Bionic Man.
That makes sense though, because of inflation, $6 million wouldn't buy you a bionic toe on today's money, would
it? No.
It'd have to be like $6 billion man today, I should think, with the inflation.
I remember they were talking about making a movie with Mark Wahlberg, but it never came to fruition. Yeah,
I'd like to see that because you think so many of the old TV shows have been made into films, like the A-Team and stuff like that, and the $6 Million Man was a classic. Also, I'm sure I saw someone doing like Wonder Woman 77 meets Bionic Woman. Did that happen, or did I dream that?
Yeah, that was a Dynamite comic book. That was a nice crossover because it was the Linda Carter version of Wonder Woman and Jamie Summers' Bionic Woman. So yeah, that was really cool. Yeah.
The other TV show I remember liking, it apparently was a comic book, but I never seen any over here. But I've seen it on other people's channels. Was The Man from Atlantis?
I love The Man from Atlantis. Yeah, Patrick Duffy.
Yeah, before he became Dallas. Was it Dallas or Dynasty he was in?
Yeah, it was Dallas. You're absolutely right. Yeah, he played JR's brother. Yeah.
But, The Man from Atlantis is responsible for how I tried to swim as a kid with both my legs together, like doing that. He used to do like a kind of like weird kind of motion. Did he rather than one leg like that and that? He'd go whoosh, do them both together. So I remember trying to do that as a kid when I was swimming.
Yeah, that only lasted one season too. One season and what was it? 3 telefilms where they were like 2-hour episodes basically.
Yeah, I remember enjoying it as a kid, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I'll probably watch it now and think, what a load of crap.
No, I've seen every episode. As a matter of fact, I believe you can still buy them on. I want to say it's Warner Brothers or CBS now. They're available on their websites as a video on demand. When it's a little bit different than you would think. You don't download it. They just burn you a copy and send it to you in the mail for I think it's like $50 for the
I was
American.
Thinking about it now, the old TV shows that we had. We're so lucky now, like comic book readers, for the amount of comic book properties that are now available. That they were so few and far between when we were young. But now you've got like cartoons, you've got TV shows on all different channels. You've got three or four, 5 or 6. I don't know how many are now. Like even the more slightly adult comics are getting shows like the Umbrella Academy and Doom Patrol. So, and all the movies, we're like geeks taking over the world kind of thing.
Can't keep up with it. You really can't. I haven't seen the second season of Doom Patrol, the second or third season of Teen Titans. I haven't seen any of them. Umbrella Academy, I think I seen the first like 5 episodes, and I couldn't stick with it it was just too time consuming. I had there's too much medium out there to consume. Yeah. And just got to let some of it go.
Yeah, it's true. Hopefully you catch it some way down the line. The thing is, a little bit, but we heard you're okay. You're a little bit freezy. But yeah, another thing is like it's so many TV channels now as well. Like back in the day when I was a kid, I complained there was only 3 TV channels, but at least we knew when everything was going to be on, and so we never missed it. Yeah. But now there's so many different TV channels. You pay to like watch so many different of the channels as well. I just lose track.
Yeah. I can't keep track of it either. I mean,
yeah.
I just heard that Red Dwarf had a new season. I was like, when did they find time to get the crew of Red Dwarf back together to have another season? And that's from your side of the pond. Did you ever watch Red Dwarf when you were a kid?
Oh yeah. Watch Red Dwarf. That was more like a teenager, and I'm like, I think it started us at school thinking about it. I'm sure I remember my old schoolmate watching it with him. So it's been going on for so long. But yeah, that's another one it's hard to keep track on because it's not on terrestrial TV anymore. It's on like I think it's a channel called Dave, which you have to have satellite to be able to watch. So I don't have satellite. I had to quit because I couldn't afford it. Oh well. But yeah, I'll catch you down the line sometime.
I was raised on British television. The Young Ones was one of my favorite TV shows.
Yeah. Awesome show.
Love The Young Ones. Yep. Faulty Towers. I've got the DVD collection of Faulty Towers because it's just so hilarious. It didn't last a long time, but oh my God, was John Cleese a stupid man.
Yeah. That's the thing with the British shows. Our seasons are a heck of a lot shorter than anything that American. I mean, six episodes, and that's it. Yeah. 6 episodes will be a season, and so you might only have like 2 or 3 seasons. So they kind of feel like more precious because they're so rare. Maybe the fact that you don't get to watch so many of them, like compared to like I don't know 30 episodes. I don't know how many you get over there, but it seems like a heck of a lot. It
took me like 2 nights to binge watch Bottom. I don't know if you ever watched Bottom with Rick Mayall. Yeah, Rick Mayall. He was brilliant.
Yeah. Have you seen them live? They did a series of like Bottom Live. They take it on the road, and there's some live DVDs, videos of those you can watch as well. They're funny.
Oh, I would love to see those. I haven't seen those. No. I know Rick passed away a while back, but
he did,
gosh,
very sad. I think he went for a jog, didn't he, in an heart attack or something like that? I can't remember what happened, but
he was pretty young.
He's only our age, probably.
Yeah.
Scary. Let's get on to the last book then, because we're coming up to an hour now. So we're cracking. Oh, Tomorrow People. Did you ever watch Tomorrow People? That's a bit of a...
Yeah, the Tomorrow People.
That was a creepy kids show, wasn't it? I remember that was real young.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those shows that I don't actually remember anything about it, but I remember watching it and liking it. But I couldn't tell you the name of the characters. I couldn't tell you what happened. I knew it was kind of creepy and weird. That's all I remember.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Hold on for a second. Let me just do something right here real quick.
All right. Hey, you've gone sideways. Now you've disappeared. I'm on my own. I'll show you my comic book instead. Now, what I'll say, while hopefully he's coming back, check out on Matilda Graphica's channel. We just we're starting a review of Isle of the Dark by Rena Brown. So check that out. It's going to be on me and Matilda's channels alternatively.
Sorry about that.
I just took that opportunity to make a small plug. Another TV show.
Awesome.
Another TV show I was going to ask about. Do you ever see one called Sapphire and Steel?
Absolutely, yes. With
awesome, that show.
That was so dark, and it was creepy and eerie, and it was a slow burn. You know,
it was just mysterious and weird, and like it was so like ahead of its time. But the thing is, I remember that as a kid, right? Really, really, I remember it all being creepy and people getting stuck in photographs and like in a Doctor Who kind of creepy kiddie way. But I sort of watched it again, like a year ago because it was all on YouTube. I managed to watch it all, and it was like it still holds up to this day of the creepiness and the weird factor. And one thing I didn't remember, spoilers for anyone watching, the very last episode. I don't know if you remember the very last episode. They finish up trapped in a dimension, like on their own, just stuck in this room for eternity. And that was how it ended. And it was like, oh man, it's just so creepy and weird and wrong.
It was awkward. Even the camera angles were awkward. They had these extreme close-ups where they'd be whispering into each other's ear. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but some, and it was, it's just really, really cool TV show. Really stylistic, super stylistic, especially I'm guessing it came out in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s.
Definitely 70s. I'm sure definitely 70s.
Yeah.
Being really young watching it. Yeah. But yeah.
And there was this one that has the creepiest music. And it was about this little town. This guy was going into this town to do an interview with somebody. That was what was he trying to? He was trying to measure something from these stones, and it was called something of the stones, and it had this really creepy introduction where you would hear ooh, and it was a British TV show. It was a mini series. It only lasted for one season, but it was broken up into little 40-minute or 30-minute episodes. And I want to say Children of the Stones or something like that.
Yeah, I've got a vague idea of that. Yeah, but I can't remember it well. But I think I have sort of seen it in passing, I'm sure. And I might have seen it back in the day and then forgotten about it. But
but it got really science fiction-y at the end. It had an alien was coming and they were trying to get rid of an asteroid. That's what it was. It was an asteroid that was coming to the planet, a comet that was coming by, and they needed the power to keep the comet from coming into the atmosphere and destroying the town. And it was just something that happened every millennia, and it was just this weird. It was just so dark and just.
it was a good TV show as well, but it started off as a Hammer horror, like Quatermass. Remember Quatermass?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here in the States, we call it Quartermass.
Quatermass, yeah. I mean, probably a lot of kids there watched it thinking it was an American football movie or something like that. Oh yeah, I can't wait to see Quatermass do some quarterbacking.
Quartermass.
A mixture between American football and a Catholic religious ceremony. Oh man, Quatermass.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at
the last comic book. Well, I don't really know how to show you these because they're all over the place, but probably would be Star Wars.
Right.
Anything and everything Star Wars. From the original Star Wars, from the Marvel Star Wars, all the way to what's going on now. I've gotten every single Marvel comic book and Star Wars comic book that's produced.
Wow.
And that's probably my biggest obsession is Star Wars.
There's a good few hundred of them now. I mean, because there's loads of ones that when the films weren't even going on, they were still going on in comic books, weren't they? Across various companies, weren't they? And
it started off with Marvel Comics, of course, and then of course the Marvel UK. I even got the Star Wars weeklies from the UK. I think they were 20p at the time. And there was over 200 issues of that. It took me a long time to get that entire Star Wars weekly collection, completed because you wouldn't find them here in the States. So I had to have, go to a show and pay a premium for them. It was just a pain in the ass. But
are they new stories or are they reprints of the UK of the American comic?
They've collected them. They collect them in a hardcover here in the States. So that's and now there's some of them were new stories. Some of them were old stories. Some of them were collections from the newspaper strip.
Ah, right, yeah, I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there was different
because I believe the weeklies. Yeah, the weeklies only had 8 pages. That was it.
Yes.
And then it would have. Then it would have another Marvel backup story.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, that was the British comic way. You'd have comics with like 5 different stories in it. A lot of the old like Marvel UK reprints were like probably 5 stories. Like you say, 2 or 3 different. And that was it. That was all you got. So what's
like you guys when you got Transformers? Did you ever see the Transformers comic book that came out in the UK? They introduced a character called Death's Head.
Yeah,
and he was from the Transformers universe. We never got those here in the United States. We got those in reprints.
Right. Because was it Vengeance Vigilante? I think he was into Death's Head, and he wanted to get his first appearance in Transformers. But he's a weird character, Death's Head, for his story, because he goes from Transformers to Doctor Who into like I think he's now in. I'm not sure he's in the main Marvel universe or what. I'm not too sure. But yeah, his own run.
It was the Marvel UK. It was published here in the States called under the banner of Marvel UK, which it was a little pocket universe, and then he got put into the regular Marvel universe, and he's part of the cosmic part of the Marvel universe. He's out there with Darkhawk. Yep, Nova.
Did he not get transformed into death metal for a while? Because I'm sure he kept Death's Head became death metal, and I had to get the 4 parts of death metal, with it being one of my favorite music genres. So
sure, absolutely. Well, there was different versions. There was Death's Head 2. That's the one with the horns.
Yeah.
Instead of the horns like this, he had the horns that came down like this. Then there was Death Metal, and then there was a mini series called Death Cubed, where they had all 3 of them all together.
God blimey. The thing is, the Star
Marvel knows how to milk that cow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why not? That's what they're there for, isn't it? The cash grab, to get as much cash as they can. The poor geeks' wallet and purses.
Absolutely.
I never actually. I like stuff. I watched it as a kid. I saw all the films in the cinema, but I never was like huge of buying the toys or like getting the comic books or anything like that. I say this mainly to wind up Star Wars fans. I always get Star Wars and Star Trek mixed up as well. But I preferred Flash Gordon. I preferred the Flash Gordon movie that came out. I really liked that. I thought that was like more my cup of tea. But yeah, I like Star Wars, but the Flash Gordon was cool. But what I've heard, and how true it is, but the Star Wars comic, the original run, they had no idea what was going to happen in the film when they were writing the comic book or something like that, and so it's a completely different story or something. How did that work?
It's got a lot of different. Yeah, it came out probably the same time the first film came out, and the guess the Marvel bullpen wasn't up to speed on what the film was about, so they just kind of knew what the script was, and they loosely pinned the script, and there were just some slight differences, but very distinct differences in the comic book than it was. I mean, they had Darth Vader painted green. He was green.
What the heck? Surely that would have been the most.
I'm not sure I could take Darth Vader be green.
You think that would be the most basic element of at least get the costume right. See you later, Simon. But yeah, that's mad.
Bye, Simon.
And also, like, there's all this thing about the canon, what is actually canon and what is not canon. A lot of the stories, I suppose, are considered to be Elseworlds and make believe and that kind of stuff now, and could have beens and all that kind of thing. But what is the actual canon now? Is it only what the films, whatever has been in the films? Is that what's the only thing that's actually canon and is confirmed?
Well, here's the thing. Ever since Disney made the purchase of Lucasfilm or of the Star Wars franchise, they just said none of the Marvel stuff exists except for the film adaptations. None of the Dark Horse stuff was canon, and none of the novelizations were canon. But now they're going back and they're cherry picking characters and they're incorporating them into their story arcs to give them an all new. Like they just brought back Vance. He was the prototype to the Terminator. He was a bounty hunter who went after Darth Vader. His name is Vance something. I can't remember his last name, but you didn't even know he was a Terminator until he got into a fight with Darth Vader, and then half of his face got ripped off, and he was a android on one side, and he had an android arm. So he looked a little bit like Cable. He looked like Cable from Marvel. And they're just bringing him back in the Star Wars Bounty Hunters mini. I think it's a mini series. It might be a continuing. book, but right now it's only like, I think it's on issue number 10 or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's just focuses on the bounty hunters.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got the Mandalorian TV show, which is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're bringing a lot of the characters back into the Mandalorian as well. We're getting Admiral Thrawn's coming back, and he was from Shadows of the Empire. That was a book, and his first comic book appearance is like skyrocketed. All the Star Wars stuff that I have is becoming priceless. Everybody is going crazy for the Star Wars stuff. And granted, it wasn't high printed, so.
Yeah. And who's that? Ashoka, is it? Ashoka, something like that?
Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, from Clone Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, because they got cartoons. So much stuff. And I mean, I'd hate to be. I mean, I'd hate to be, but it must be very confusing to be a Star Wars fan with not knowing what's right and what's real, what's not real, and it must be kind of like if you're really into a story and they suddenly decide, oh yeah, that didn't actually happen. Does it like feel like a smack in the face when they do that kind of thing, or you just take it on the chin?
It is. It does. It definitely feels like they're just taking the whole fandom and just. Yeah, you just got to do what you got to. You just got to take it with stride. I'm not liking this new book that they just put out. The High Republic. It seems like they're going after a different audience. I mean, I don't mind inclusive. I don't mind being being all inclusive, but it just seems like they're going after more of a political statement than just having good fun with comics.
Okay.
So I'm going to stick with it for a little while. And
was you thinking of Cobb Vanth? Was that the character you were trying to think of? Cobb Vanth?
Not Cobb Vanth. It's just Vance. Cobb Vanth. Nope, that's not. That was from the novels. I know who he's talking about. No, this is it's Vance something or other, and I can't remember the name of him. I can't remember, but he looks just like the Terminator. Literally looks just like the Terminator, and this predates the Terminator films. So,
okay,
yeah.
Have you got an absolute favorite character from Star Wars? Maybe one like people don't know or not very well known one who you'd like to see get their own title or their own movie or TV show.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was always fascinated by this one little action figure that I had from the original Star Wars run. They used to call him Hammerhead, but then they actually gave him a name. His name is Moma Maidon. And he's just the Hammerhead race. And he just looked really cool because he had this weird, big hammerhead of a shark kind of head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was his story then? I don't actually remember him from the films. I remember the figure, but he's one of those characters. The figure was like very memorable because he's like such a weird shaped head. But where was he in the actual films? In a crowd scene or something?
He was in the cantina scene in the original Star Wars film.
Okay.
They show him for 5 seconds.
That's how they sell more toys, by having more weird characters in there. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. But if you read the Ballantine book series where they had the Tales from Mos Eisley Cantina, they had a whole story based on him, and that one was one of my favorites. He had it wasn't like a bounty hunter, but he was an intergalactic tradesman, and he was just always dealing with strange and unusual objects, and he got sucked into. So he was kind of like a
Indiana Jones sort of thing?
Yeah. So it's kind of like an interesting trader, a lot more interesting than like Watto at his stupid, junkyard.
Yeah. Actually, I think that would be a good series if they did like a Star Wars series, like Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could have a different character focused on every issue, kind of thing. That would be quite good. And maybe some kind of overarching story connecting it all or something like that. Maybe that could be quite interesting. Anyway, we've gone well over an hour, mate. So have you got anything else you want to add about Star Wars? What did you think about the more recent films, the last trio?
They were films. They were okay. They were entertaining. They were entertaining. I kind of scratched my head with a couple of the plot points, but one thing about watching Star Wars is you got to remember you got to watch it from the eyes of a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Makes sense, because anything I was never like a huge fan. I watched all the films. I didn't go to the cinema to watch the last lot. I just watched them when they came on TV or whatever. But I was like, when Luke turned up, I thought, oh yeah, cool. Can't wait to see Luke kick some ass, and then they killed him off right after not seeing an awful lot of it. I was like, I was a bit disappointed by that. I wanted him to come in and be like, kicking butt like he did in the originals. But no, it was all about passing on the guard to new characters, wasn't it? Really,
right?
Killing off the old ones. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, if I can leave your audience with anything is that there's a lot more out there to read than Marvel and DC. Of course, there's Image Comics as well that has a lot of really cool stories. Myself, I grew up on Marvel and DC. I could have talked about Marvel and DC all day long. If you want to check out some really good DC stories, I would say Kingdom Come was one of the most influential stories I ever read. As well as Crisis on Infinite Earths and the Darkness Saga from Legion of Superheroes. Those will be my top 3 reads from DC. When you look at Marvel, I would think Marvel, the top 3 reads that you should read would be Contest of Champions, the original 3-issue miniseries, which was one of my favorite comic books of all time. Marvel 2-in-1 with The Thing. I loved his episodic comic books where every issue he had to team up with a different character, and I love the character of The Thing. Once again, one of those loner guys that kind of feels like doesn't fit into the world. And then, of course, not what you call it, Secret Wars. Secret Wars. Everybody who collects Marvel should at least read Secret Wars so you can know where the whole Venom costume comes from, where Doctor Doom's maniac personality comes from. And as well as the Beyonder. That's coming. I guarantee you the Beyonder is going to be coming into the Marvel Universe very, very soon because he's just one of those characters that you just can't ignore.
Okay, cool. Well, cheers for joining us. Do you want to finish off? You got anything coming up with your channel? You're a bit too busy doing anything on the channel at the moment, aren't you? I think you've not done anything for a month.
Well, I just finished doing a show for Christmas, and then I just came off of the Christmas show, and I did another theatrical performance, where we did the Freedom Rider. It was called the Parchment Hour, and it was based on the Freedom Rides, the early days of the Civil Rights Movement, and I got to play a very racist police officer on stage. So that's the reason why I haven't been able to broadcast any videos, but in February I have an open schedule other than taking care of my dad. I'm probably going to start broadcasting some new content on my channel. Not so much stuff in the comic book store, but maybe a little bit more like when I used to do the comic hauls. I'd like to start doing that again. Yeah.
And stuff from the vault was quite cool as well.
And stuff from the vault. Yeah. Got to see more of what's in these boxes.
Might as well show people. Just grab a random box and pull a few comic books out. Oh yeah, might find ones you've not seen for years.
Yeah, I've got plenty of that to choose from.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers for joining us, mate. Great talking to you. Good to see you again. And
Graham, hopefully, always a pleasure.
Yeah. See you on YouTube. If not, sometime in the future. Cheers for watching, everyone.